everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you all for tuning in. Alright, so we got another Tales of the Collection episode. First two I randomly picked off the shelf. This time I purposely picked a few off the shelf that I thought are always fun for me to think about and talk about. So, just so that I wouldn't be sitting here being like, oh, I ordered this off the internet, because that's not really that interesting. So I picked out some that I think are going to be, they're always fun for me to think about and talk about, so hopefully you guys enjoy this too. Let's start off with this one. This one's maybe the wonkiest story of my entire shelf there. AC/DC, For Those About to Rock. So, when I was younger, I hated AC/DC. Couldn't stand them. And when I was still in that phase where I didn't like this band, I was with my dad at a truck stop, and they had a little rack of CDs close to the checkout. And he picked this up, and he was going to try and get me into AC/DC. So we get in the truck, we play this. I don't even think we played the whole thing, maybe like the first half. And I just wasn't, I wasn't into it. It's like, yeah, whatever. Wasn't my thing. Wasn't until a couple years later that I heard Money Talks on the radio, and that's when I got it. That's when I'm like, okay, I like this. This is pretty good. So I went back and sort of got into AC/DC, picked up some albums, and my dad, who still had this CD in his truck, let me put it on my computer. I made a little mix CD that I had with me for years and years, and my dad kept the CD in his truck. I kept the jewel case on my shelf because my dad doesn't really have anywhere that he keeps jewel cases specifically, so though he had the CD, I had the jewel case, and then I just kept my burnt copy with me, with my CDs. So, years back, about 10 years ago, I purged out my collection, and all of my AC/DC albums went with it, except for this one, because I didn't have, the real, actual CD. So somewhere since then, I lost that burned copy of For Those About to Rock that I had. And I thought, when I was putting all my CDs back on the shelf, I thought, I'm liable to find it. It's probably hidden behind something in some case that I rarely ever visit. But nope, didn't have it. Totally lost it. So I had one CD on my shelf that had no CD in it. And I'm thinking, I'm just going to have to pick it up again, because I don't recall. When my dad sold his truck a few years ago, I helped him clean it out. I don't remember seeing it. I don't remember coming across. I wasn't looking for it, but I don't remember coming across it either. So I'm like, it's probably just gone forever, because I don't even know if my dad still has his CDs or whatnot. So a couple weeks ago, I was over with my dad, helping him work in his truck, wash his truck and stuff, and his CD case just happened to be laying out there. And I noticed he doesn't have it because he doesn't own this truck anymore. He drives it for another company. So his CDs were laying in the garage somewhere, and I just start flipping through them, and there it was. AC/DC, For Those About to Rock. So I asked him if I could have it and kind of bring it home to its case here. But yeah, for the longest time, I don't know how many years now, but the CD was not necessarily in my possession, but I had the jewel case, so it's just kind of weird how just recently this one kind of came back home to its case. So AC/DC, For Those About to Rock. Yeah, it's kind of a weird one. Next up, I have Renew from the Badlees. This is a Pennsylvania rock band. They didn't really make it too big nationally, though here in Pennsylvania and maybe some of the surrounding states, I don't know. They do get some radio play. Fear of Falling and Angeline's Coming Home are the two songs that I hear on the radio from time to time. Love both those songs. But this one here, I only bought one CD on that shelf in another state. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I was in a mall in New York, upstate New York, one time. And I just happened to look for Badlees when I was in their FYE. They had this one, so I bought it. This was I want to say second Badlees album I owned. The first one was River Songs, and then this one was the second. I just think it's kind of weird that a band who is primarily just a Pennsylvania band sort of a local group. They're from a town not too terribly far from me, um, but an album from them is the only album that I ever bought out of state. So I always thought that was just kind of a weird thing there, but pretty cool stuff here. If you ever happen to check this album out, I recommend the song Hindsight Seeing. It's my favorite song on this album. Renew's really good. Too Many Changes is really good. See Me as a Picture. But if anyone's interested in the Badlees, I definitely recommend checking out their album River Songs and the songs I mentioned, Fear of Falling and Angelina's Coming Home. They're both really good. This one I picked out, I had this idea. I don't remember when I thought about this, but I was wondering how many albums I own were actually released on my birthday. And there's only one on that entire CD shelf and this record shelf. Because I went back in time and I was looking on Wikipedia. There's only one album that I own that was released on my birthday, and it was this one, Goo Goo Dolls' Let Love In. It was released in 2006, so I would turn 16 years old that year. I didn't buy this in 2006, I bought it in 2008. But this album is really instrumental in me becoming a big Goo Goo Dolls fan. It was hearing the song Give a Little Bit, which is the Supertramp cover, on YouTube, back when YouTube was in its infancy back in like 2007. I was looking up Star Trek videos. I wasn't even looking for the song, but I was watching a fan-made video about Commander Data from Star Trek The Next Generation, and Give a Little Bit was the song was playing. And I was watching the video, and I walked away from the video thinking, that was a good song. I really liked that. So I looked it up, started getting into the Goo Goo Dolls. Stay With You is a song I remember being played on TV, being played on the radio back when this one came out. And I always kind of liked that one. Let Love In. But this album sort of spawned my interest. The songs that I liked on here, like the aforementioned Stay With You, Give a Little Bit, Let Love In, Listen, that kind of got me to branch out into the Goo Goo Dolls' previous albums, and I just fell in love with the group, and it became one of those things where it's like, how have I not known about these guys? I knew of them, I knew the name, but I never knew how much I loved them until then. So this album was pretty instrumental in me becoming a Goo Goo Dolls fan. It was actually one of the last ones I collected. I remember buying it, it was 2008. It was a really hot day. It was the middle of the summer, but by that point I had already bought Dizzy Up the Girl. I already had Boy Named Goo. I already had Superstar Car Wash. I think Gutter Flower. I'm pretty sure I had Gutter Flower first. I think the only ones that I didn't own yet were like the first three. So, and of course the ones that haven't been released. Then I didn't have them yet either. So, Let Love In by the Goo Goo Dolls. It's the only album on my entire CD shelf and in my entire collection that was released on my birthday. So there's another one that was close, Def Leppard Songs from the Sparkle Lounge. If I lived in the UK, it would have been released on my birthday, but I'm not counting it. It was released 4 days after that in North America. So I didn't count that because I live in North America. So I didn't have access to it on my birthday. It's not even back in 2008. It was not like today where you just logged on to YouTube to listen to brand new albums as soon as they drop at midnight. Would have been nice though, but whatever. So yeah, that one I didn't count, even though it was released over in Europe on my birthday. Since I don't live in Europe, I'm not counting it. Collective Souls Blender. I remember getting into these guys. It was 2010, and I had a day trip planned with a buddy of mine. My wife, we weren't married at the time, but my wife and I were going down with one of my best friends to a town called Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, and we were meeting a friend of my friends there, and just going to spend the day. I had been to Jim Thorpe once to see Twisted Sister like 6 years prior, but I didn't remember anything about the town. But it's a gorgeous little town. It's so weird. It's just this really picturesque kind of a town, but the surrounding area is one of the ugliest in the state of PA, in my opinion. It's just so weird. It's almost like all the natural beauty just converged to Jim Thorpe because all the surrounding areas, honestly, I'm not that big of a fan of that part of the state. But Jim Thorpe is a really gorgeous town. And we passed through a city called Hazleton to get there, and I think Hazleton is one of the ugliest cities in the state. If you're from Hazleton, if you're a Hazleton, Pennsylvanian out there, and I just dissed your hometown, forgive me, but I didn't really enjoy driving through it. But how it ties back to this, I got off work at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we were going to be leaving at like, I don't know, 11 or noon or something. So I had a little bit of time to kill before I met up with my friend. So I went to the music store in town, and I figured, you know what, I'm gonna buy a new Collective Soul album for the trip. So I bought Blender because it was the one that was highest on my wish list at that point. We listened to this all the way down there, and then when we met with my buddy's girlfriend at the time, I'm not sure if they were dating yet or not, but we kind of split up. They kind of did their own thing for a little bit, and then my wife and I went and kind of did our thing, jammed to this album. Went up to there's like a little lake up there, which is really, really peaceful. So this whole album to me, this is like my car trip album. If I'm ever going to go on a car trip, I always feel the need to have this album with me, whether I listen to it or not. But it's just everything about that trip. It was springtime, long car ride, a couple hours up the lake, all that fun stuff. That's Blender to me. So I love this one. One of my favorite Collective Soul albums, actually, Blender. Last but not least, I have Stay Hungry from Twisted Sister. I was not quite 14 years old, and my mom was going to the mall or whatever, and I wasn't going with her. I asked her if she'd get me a CD, and she said yes, so I gave her a handful of CDs that I wanted. I know there was a Metallica CD on that list. I don't remember what else I had. And Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry was on there. And honestly, it probably wasn't the one I was most wanting, but I threw it on the list for good measure. She came home with this, and she probably wouldn't have if she would have known what she was starting, because for the next year and a half, I was absolutely 150% obsessed with this band, and I drove my mom absolutely up a wall with it. But this is the one that started it right here, because I fell in love with this CD instantly. Stay Hungry, We're Not Gonna Take It, Burn in Hell, Captain Howdy, I Wanna Rock, The Price, Don't Let Me Down, The Beast, SMF, all of it's just freaking amazing. This is just the right band at the right time for me, and I just remember popping this. I took this CD with me to school basically every day. I remember I used to take 3 CDs to school with me in my little CD player, Walkman CD player, and this was usually one of them, and the Black Album was usually one of them, and then that third one would kind of like change based upon my mood. But I remember walking around outside as winter was turning into spring and listening to this thing. I couldn't get enough of it. I could not get enough of it. It was the beginning of an obsession. I still love this album to this day. Stay Hungry from Twisted Sister. Great stuff. Let me know your thoughts on any of these albums I mentioned, or if you've got any tales that maybe my stories kind of sparked a memory for you. Let me know in the comments below what that is. If you like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this in the future, and I will catch you next time.